Hi, everyone. Welcome to DU Raw.
It is a Sunday
Welcome to
morning.
Amanda.
We have somebody here. Obviously, Amanda is kicking off the episode. We have just celebrated Andrew's birthday, which is a lot of fun. Andrew, happy birthday, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Feel a whole lot different today, I gotta say. But it was an incredible day. I mean, thanks to you, Amanda, Jazz, Celeste, for just hanging all day.
Yeah.
So we got some bowling in, we got some karaoke in, we ate some
Cool.
grapes, had some poutine,
That's right.
all the Indian food. Oh man. Yeah, couldn't have asked for a better day. So
That is awesome. Yeah, and that was it. It wasn't like we didn't go out and get blasted drunk and, have a massive party, but every step of the day was appreciated. There was no rushing. At one point early in the day, it looked like it was going to rain. It got a little cold. We're like, all right, well, let's go inside and play some pool.
mhm.
And we went inside and played some pool, cleared right up, right? And the rest of the day was beautiful. And it was just a matter of making the most of the day. But that said, we'd glossed over this really quickly. Amanda's here. Holy shit, right? And that's the point, is that Dualistic Unity is now 3/4 on Vancouver Island. We have one host left who has not come to the island yet. And I'm not saying that they should, but it's getting funky. I'm just saying we're all coming up here soon. It's going to be the DU Island. I'm just kidding. If you haven't been to Vancouver Island, it's absolutely gorgeous. Definitely keep an eye out for the November retreat that we're playing in Port Alberni. We'll have details for that coming in the next few weeks. Aside from that, I don't know where to kick this off. This has been just a hell of a day. Actually, let's start with the massive change that you've both just been through recently. You've been here for about a week now, and you just got here literally on Friday. How's that going?
It's going.
Amanda, you wanna kick off?
No, Andrew, you've been here for about a week. How's
I've
it
been
been?
here for about a week. It's been an interesting ride. I'm not gonna lie. It's a brand new experience, and with that, I think sometimes we can discount how often we can. God damn, I didn't turn that off yet. How much we can jump to certain assumptions or conclusions, like when you're in spots that are new or unfamiliar, and like each and every time when it is something that's new, it is a brand new opportunity. Like giving yourself some slack almost. Like, of course, it's gonna feel different and things are gonna feel brand new, and like there's gonna be like, I knew with a move where it's like I'm out of my comfort zone that there's gonna be discomforts and things that arise, and being able to see how much of it always stems from me, like how much of every situation and like my immediate response to a situation, like it all stems from a perception of a situation, an assumption, whatever that may be, wherever you're at, and like realizing how little outside of myself is gonna do anything for me or like help me to feel better or improve me. Like it really is giving myself more opportunities to not even improve anything, but just let go of that need to do so, or that drive to do so, that drive to improve myself or be getting somewhere, and just being fully involved in the situation that I'm in and what I'm doing. And so it's been an awesome experience, and I love being able to hang out with you guys, and now Amanda's here as often as we do, and being able to just explore a brand new city and like meet a bunch of new people and like have brand new experiences that a couple of years ago, I don't know if I would tell you that I'd have moved to Vancouver Island, but I'm very happy to be here.
Or that you were a regular at karaoke.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I could have possibly guessed that if I had a spot nearby, but yeah, that's been a blast.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of last night was you singing "What's Going On" at the top of your lungs to just a group of people who were all singing along with you. And I got a video. It's got, the three people in front of you that are just kind of swaying back and forth, but the whole bar was in it. Like everybody was singing and
People
sing
started
along.
singing it before
And
I started singing.
And you were having the best time. It was awesome. And I just want to give everybody this image because there was this wonderful old man at this bar, and he's a regular. He goes all the time. He's got his own seat. He meets with his older boys, and they kind of hang out from the early on part of the night. And then his friends all left, and so he was just there, but he was obviously having a good time, and he still had some songs up. And so at one point he gets up, he goes to the bathroom, and a bunch of young people take his seat. And he goes over and he's like, "You stay there. I've only got a couple of songs left, and my friends have all gone." So he just spent the rest of the evening chilling on the dance floor and possibly on the stage when he wasn't singing. And so when Andrew got up to sing, he went from the dance floor to the stage with Andrew and was standing in front of the lyrics. And so it looked for all the world like Andrew was serenading this old man in a very, very high, like loud voice, because he was great. He was just belting out the song. But it was one of the funniest images I think I've ever seen in my life. And it's just because Andrew was having so much fun. And the old guy was in his glory. He's just like, this dude is so passionate about what he's singing to me. You could tell he was like getting into it. He's like, yeah, yeah. It was awesome. It was just a fantastic moment. I just wanted to mention that to everybody. If you can imagine that, thank you. Thank you for just coming to that place with me. It was worthwhile. And the old man had like this straw hat, and he had a goatee that was longer than mine. It actually had braids in it. I'm really just trying to paint you a picture here. And that's all I got.
Yeah, one braid down to about here. But yeah, and he could have taken it any which way. I have no idea. It seemed like he was enjoying himself because he didn't leave necessarily. And granted, he was on the stage, but yeah, I was kind of belting it out and got pretty close to him. But he didn't do anything. He didn't
even
run away.
flinch.
He didn't even bat an eye. He's like, yeah, I'm standing here. You can do what you want, little man. But yeah, I got a couple more laps around the sun than you do, brother. So yeah, it was an awesome time though. Had a lot of fun. Corner Lounge, if you're in the Nanaimo area or ever visit, Corner Lounge downtown, fantastic spot. Karaoke 7 nights a week.
7 nights a week.
That was incredible to watch and to relive again. Because I can so vividly see this just super content man just sits on that stage getting screamed at, loving it. Just, oh my God, it was beautiful. But yeah, no, this has been quite a whirlwind. I've only gotten here in the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
And so it feels like a dream come true in just that. I'm just so glad that I'm here, that I am giving this a whirl, that we're all here and just showing up. And that feels incredible. So often I used to think that like the dream come true was, feeling like you're getting everything that you're wanting, but it just feels so incredible to just be here, to just be giving this a real shot, to have the doubts, to have the fears, to have the hesitation, the insecurities, and to just remind myself that that's not reality, that I'm here, that we're all here, that there's so much that's available right now. And I have no idea what we're going to do with it, but it just feels incredibly powerful and just full in this moment to just be here figuring it out as it unfolds with no real need for it to be anything. And then when I think about those fears, it was reminding myself that, maybe what I'm really concerned about is what I think I would be without all those problems. And that's one of the contributing factors to why it feels like I'm holding on to it, because it feels like that's what I think I am. And so it's like, without the fears, without the insecurities, what would I be? And it would be everything that's here right now is what I would be. So it wouldn't be changing. It's just not needing to think that it's something else, because that makes me feel better. So it just feels incredibly full. And I feel incredibly content right now.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. I'm from my own perspective, I'll say it's weird. Having you both here, it's weird. I don't know. The last 20 years of my life, have been just my own path, and then DU has come along and all of that. And I'm out here on my island doing my thing, chatting with all these people around the world, having a great time, doing all that. And all of a sudden, that world is just expanding. It's expanding in leaps and bounds. Like all of a sudden now, I've got 2 friends out here on the island who want to do the things that I'm passionate about. They want to have this conversation. They want to create this content. They want to have this discussion with you. They want to create events to meet you and hang out with you and just do great shit, just like we did with Jazz this weekend, which was fucking great. Like it was really cool because Jazz has come to a number of retreats. But for Jazz to just be able to come over on the ferry and hang out for 2 days, right? Because they were here Friday and Saturday. They're going back home today. That was a treat for us, and it's just because that's what this is about. It's about connection. It's not about, some stupid spiritual message. It's about the fact that we're all fucking uncertain. We don't know what the fuck's going on, like all the time. And there's a superpower in being able to embrace that and being able to take that and go, well, fuck it. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to be informed by it and see where it leads me, rather than just panicking because I don't know where it goes. It's like, I don't ever know where anything goes, but it's all led somewhere. There are countless things I've done in my life that I didn't know were going to go anywhere. Wow, that was obnoxious. Anyway, and like that, for example, I didn't know that was going to happen, and suddenly it did. There was this giant, loud noise, and I'm like, okay, what can I do with that? I can make it into whatever I'm going to talk about right now, because that's the point. Sometimes loud noises happen in our life, whatever they might be. Now I'm getting notifications on my screen, just being a dick, trying to distract me, and that's going to happen too. But when you're jumping into the unknown and you're not sure what you're dealing with, and suddenly things pop up and they kind of take your attention away, and then you come back to what you were doing, you're like, fuck, right, I was trying to get something done. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to focus, and then something else pops up. Maybe it's your doubt, your insecurity, your fear. Maybe you're judging yourself a little bit. Maybe you're comparing yourself to your assumptions of others, things like that. You're still in the unknown. You're still in the unknown. You're being informed by all of that. And it's easy to go, right, but I'm thinking about my ego. Yes, that's true. But to think that you shouldn't be is also egotistical. Like you're taking the problem you're dealing with and making it worse, instead of just going, wow, I am really awash of my thoughts, and then recognizing why. That's it. Just recognizing why. You don't have to judge yourself for it. Doesn't mean it has to stop. But if you have a moment of like, right, because I'm protecting something I don't really need to protect, the thoughts might still be there for a bit, but they're almost like they've lost their hold. You're kind of like holding on to them a little bit because you don't want to let them go now. You're like, meh, I was doing so well until I fucking, But that's it. You're in it and going through your quote unquote ego, which isn't a thing. I just want to say again, like we talk about the ego like it's your neighbor Bob. And Bob's a real douche, and Bob makes you do things, but Bob doesn't exist. It's just the habit of thinking about ourselves. It's just the mechanism of being able to identify with what we think. That's the ego. It's not an actual thing. It evaporates as soon as you stop focusing on it. It's the point. It doesn't actually exist when you're listening to the wind or feeling the sun or laying in your bath, not going through your day and your schedule. When you have that moment of silence, the ego's not there. It's not there because it was never there. It was never there, but that doesn't mean you're not going to go through it and it's not going to pop up and your brain's not going to process what it thinks it knows about you and your place in the world and everything it's ever experienced, and everything it might experience later. That's what your brain does. And that's all part of the unknown. You got all that stupid known in there, and then the actual experience of not knowing where the fuck it goes. So just keep going, and turn it into something. And that's why I'm so stoked about this, because I had no idea I would ever get to the point where we're all here on the island. Now, like, we're going to make content, weed reviews, karaoke reviews. We're going to fucking post shit and talk to people. It's already happening, like a lot, because we're all very chatty people. People are interesting. Sorry about that. Not sorry about that. Shit happens. People are interesting. And if you recognize that you are interesting, then everybody's fascinating. But when you have an idea of yourself, it's really easy to get bored with your own existence. And that's why shaking it up is important. Go somewhere you've never been. Do something you've never done. Talk to somebody that you're too afraid to talk to. Something like that. Just shake it up, because your brain, it doesn't realize how much it needs it. Sometimes we don't even recognize how much we need to be shaken up. And then when you shake yourself enough, you start to realize you're always being shaken. Everything's always uncertain. It's just that we get caught up in this idea that it's not. Like, no, I know where I'm going. No, you just think you know where you're going. You want to think you know where you're going. And you don't. And why do you want to think you know where you're going? Because it offers some certainty, because you're afraid that you won't be able to deal with it otherwise. But you can. You always have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think throughout my life, I've definitely discounted just like in situations that I'm a component of situations, like a situation isn't happening separately from me going on, or for me happening, from like both sides, both perspectives. Like any perspective of a situation, like there's absolutely involvement in that situation from yourself. And I think the sense of like being egotistical or not being egotistical, like with karaoke yesterday, for example, I went up with that "What's Up" song, and I was just beforehand, I was like, why, like, what's holding me back from just having as much fun as I can on the stage and just doing that? Like, why? Because the song before, I was more hesitant, I was a little more, rigid, reserved, and I was like, wait, who the fuck am I singing for right now? Because I'm not enjoying this experience right now. I'm doing it to be heard. I'm wondering how it's being perceived out there, but why? And they're gonna do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know one way or the other how it's gonna play out. So why not at least have as much fun as I can in the experience, in given experiences? And of course, there's sensitivity to different situations. It's not always just like, oh, jolly good, have a great time, toxic positivity shit. But like
someone's funeral.
Yeah, right. Hey, it's all good, man. You got some jokes? No, but I mean, somewhere at karaoke, hanging out with people, like there's this inherent, like connection, of course, to you and the situation and everyone involved. Like there isn't a situation that's happening that's separate at all. There's not like some separate experience that you're either in or you're not in. Like you can't escape any experience that you're in. And so being able to jump into ones that feel less certain, less familiar, and learn to swim in those. Like learning to swim didn't happen the first time you jumped into something. It could have when you were a baby, because we were born learning how to swim, which I learned not too long ago. But over time we start having ideas of what it is. Like start thinking about what might happen if I don't know how to swim, and then down the road, and it's not that at all. Like none of those perceptions down the road are the truth ever, and so being in new environments and new situations, there can almost like feel like more of a pull to want to span out this sense of certainty or guarantee or any of those things. And just knowing that you can't, no matter what, is important to keep in mind. Like each and every day is still, you don't know what it's going to be, and so you might as well be there, making the most of it as you go through each and every experience, because that's what you got for the rest of your life.
Right. And just like reminding yourselves that you don't have to have experienced every single potential situation to be ready for that situation, because even when it's a brand new kind of environment that you've never been in before, you're going to have to do the same thing that you would do in one that you are familiar with. Look around. Literally, look around. What's happening? If we're in the water, is this a river? Or in the ocean, is this a lake? Is it, is it morning? Is it night? Is there anything swimming around me? Is there anything that's like cumbersome? Am I swimming in seaweed? Is like, you would be doing the same thing in every situation, whether you had been there before or not. You always have to take, and if it sounds like I'm laughing, it's because it just seems so absurd that I have this expectation that I need this prerequisite of having been through an experience to be ready for that experience, despite the fact that I'm doing the same thing in every situation. I'm paying attention. I'm looking around me. I'm taking in what's available, and I'm using the same, I'm I'm just using the same thing, the same tool, my attention. Right. So it just seems so absurd that the expectation is so impossible. And yet that seems like something to like prioritize. And then once I see that that was the priority, I just can't help but laugh because it's just so absurd. And then it's like, okay, all right, well, right. I got to pay attention. I've got to look around. I've got to take in what's going on. And then that helps me, honestly, it helps me remember to do that because I don't want to forget the absurdity. I don't want to forget that I had been there, that I had prioritized that, because when I forget that, it's so much easier to fall back into that habit.
Nicely said. I like how you broke that down, because there really is that, and I say this all the time, that there is a commonality. Like, we're all experiencing very much a spectrum of how much attention you're paying to each and every moment. It's almost like all of the consequences in our life are just different paths based on the spectrum of attention that we're paying. The more attention you're paying to the moment you're in, the more opportunities you see in front of you. The less attention you're paying to the moment that you're in, the more attention you're paying to where you think you are, who you think you are, where you think you're going, all that stuff. And it's like infinite doors just close. Not just close, they just vanish from your attention entirely. And it's because you're not there in potential. Because we tend to forget that uncertainty and potential are synonymous. For something to have infinite potential means that it is infinitely uncertain. It can become anything. We forget uncertainty and potential are synonymous.
Right.
In embracing uncertainty, you are embracing your potential. In paying attention to where you are, rather than where you think you need to go, or where you think you're going, or where you think you've been, you are actually allowing yourself to experience numerous other stories, because they're all open to you here. Whereas if you were on a timeline, if you were in a story, that is all you'll see, is that path. You won't see any of the other paths that are always there.
And it can give you that sense of feeling better, the limitations, the planning, the being sure that, looking around and being like, oh, well, this appears to be working for someone else, so I'm gonna try it. But again, it's like each and every time you do that, it cuts down that potential. It cuts down the opportunities for something brand new to be experienced, not something that that's just, because even the feeling good about certain things, it's all temporary, and then you got to do something else to feel better, and it can just be another distraction from being able to experience that potential. So it's not even to say that there's a right or a wrong necessarily, but it's like, do you want to explore your potential? Because that comes with uncertainty. It doesn't come with guarantees. It doesn't come with a surety, anything, because that's not going to be given to you anyway. That sense of certainty, that sense of a guarantee. The sense may be, but the certainty won't, and it never will. And you're going to keep running into brand new surprises, no matter how much you try and set up your life or plan, or try and figure out what's going on. Like the song, "What's Up, Four Non Blondes?" What's going on? Trying to figure that out, you're never going to do it. So just being able to continue to be curious about it, I think continuing to ask the question, what's going on? And it's like, well, pay attention, because something's going on right now. and then something's going on right now, and then something's going on right now, instead of like, let me gain all of this certainty about the situation and be able to, assume this and then do this based on that, and none of it's sure, none of it's certain. And so being able to stay in that spot where it's like, what's going on, that and seeing that as exciting, and seeing that as what's going on, who am I, that's where the potential is. That's where the potential can be experienced, because it's a lot tougher to do if you're trying to be sure and certain of everything you possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then when you're embracing this uncertainty, embracing this potential, it feels really tempting to want to define it, classify it, put it in a box. But it's in not doing that it remains potential, that it remains uncertain, because for you to take the unknowable and make it knowable, it's now not uncertain anymore. It's now it's potential classified. Now it's categorized, it's organized, it's defined, it's controllable. And so when you're embracing this uncertainty, when you're embracing the potential of the moment of what you are in that moment, or what's unfolding right in that moment, resist the labels, resist wanting to define it in that moment. And if you have to, because you're, let's say, building a business, expanding a podcast, like you have to do that to some degree, but it's just not setting it in stone in your mind, right? We're using this label, we're classifying potential right now to some degree because we have to in order to do something. Not setting it in stone. Okay, this is we're recording an episode right now, right? All right. It doesn't have to be really much more than that, because we're having this conversation. We're being here like we always are. And so even when you do have to use that label, it's just not giving it so much weight. Light touches when it comes to the way that you immediately want to organize things. But in not doing so in other areas of your life, like when you're hanging out with somebody, you're like, do I have to classify them as my best friends? Like, no, man, I'm just hanging out with a friend. I'm just hanging out and keeping it simple, because that's where it can remain closer to potential than to a knowable certainty that makes you feel better, that makes things a little more heavy
And limited.
and limited.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny, like even down to that expression that sometimes we'll find ourselves using, like, really being tested right now, really being tested. It's like, no, you just like to look at it in a way where as soon as this is over, you're going to go back to certainty. It's like, I'm just going through uncertainty. I just got to get through this. It's a real test for me. Nobody's testing you. There's no reward. You don't get a gold star. It's just uncertainty. That's all it is. And there's a spectrum of relationship to uncertainty. You're either resisting it or you're not. And that's it. That's more or less all the shit that you're going through, is how much you're resisting the experience of being here now. If you don't like it, that's resistance, because nobody asked you to. Life in no way said, hey, what do you think of this? It didn't, and it won't. And if you're waiting for it to do so, you're going to be sorely disappointed. And it's just because, like, you're here to live. You're not here to feel a certain way. You're here to feel. I've said that before. It really is just that. But we honestly think, like, no, I got to figure out how I feel about all this. Mm-hmm. No, you don't. You really don't. You need to act. You need to feel. And that's all. You don't need to think to yourself, but, what really is my take on this existence thing? Like, where do I submit my feedback card? Nowhere. There's no feedback box. There's no administrative staff. Nobody gives a fuck about your complaints at the end of the day. And that's what we're looking for. We're like, I really don't like how life works. I get it. I don't like nose hair. It doesn't mean it fucking matters what I think. It's still in there. I still got to do something about it. And that's the point. I could bitch about it all day long. I could start a little protest, let's genetically modify humans to not have nose hair, get a bunch of people behind me, go to the government, lobby, try and get the medical industry behind me. You know what I mean? Like, I really, absolutely, or I could just trim my fucking nose hair, and or not, and then move on with my day. Not thinking to myself that somehow the length of my nose hair is going to determine the quality of my life. But that's really it. We want to think about our existence. That's why, it's funny because we hold these questions up as being like the big questions, but they're really the big avoidances. Who am I? Is there a God? What is my purpose? Shut the fuck up. Just be here. Like, why? Why do you need to answer those questions? Are you not full enough with what you're doing? Well, they're good questions. No, they're questions. They're questions that demand answers that can never actually fully describe what they're trying to describe. They're questions that can never be fully answered. What is my purpose? Who are you talking about? You, the individual you're thinking about, or you, the part of everything else? And what do you mean by purpose? You mean singular? Like one? And then once it's done, that's it, you die? Or do you mean like moment to moment? What is your purpose? It changes, but we just want a simple answer because then the uncertainty goes away. The point is, you can live in those questions, or you can just stop asking them. Perhaps it's not about answering those questions. Perhaps it's about living. And that's all. It's like, is there a God? Well, who's asking? It seems like kind of an avoidance, So get out there, be God, be existence, but it's so easy to stick in concepts, and we do stick in concepts. It's very easy to do so. We oversimplify everything because otherwise it just feels too stressful. And it's because we live in a world where we have habitually invested in certain thoughts and ideas and ways of living that make it impossible to question those things without feeling like you're fucking crazy.
Yeah, because it does. There are times where it's like, there's certain questions and you start to realize that focusing on them and trying to figure them out is just another thing, another way to spend time. It's like it's an option, and you can start to think that means something about you, and then something else means something about you, and then all the other things that you can or can't do, and then you start focusing on certain questions, and it's like, again, trying to figure those out like cuts out so much of the potential for your life, because then you'll start defining yourself based on your stance on certain questions, like, oh, this is my opinion of this and this is my opinion of that. I met someone once who said, he was talking to a friend and they were like, yeah, it's super important to have opinions. You should have opinions about everything. It should be right there all the time. And I've wondered about this, because at first when I heard that, it was like, a year or two ago, I was like, oh no, like, don't have any opinions. But it's not really there you go. It's not really that either, because like you can do them without taking them super seriously. Like you can have a perspective on something, because not having an opinion can almost be a means of just like, I don't know, like mitigating, not conflict, but like a conversation, or maybe like taking a stand on something, or having a perspective. There can be a sense of like not having faith in yourself, not having an opinion or a perspective, or sharing something you want to share and just being like, oh, whatever, it's what it is. Don't really have too many thoughts on that thing. It's like, hold on, that's not like, it's not that side either. It's not avoiding like the fullness of experiences too, and like the opportunity to talk with someone about something. It's just like more so whatever, like not assuming it means something about you. Like there aren't these hard and fast, like rigid things like do this, don't do that, like avoid this, don't avoid that. And like you're saying before with, trying to do things that aren't egotistical, like with the perspective that other things could be, is kind of egotistical, like purposely. And I've gone through plenty of things where in the past I've done certain things because I was trying to build myself, make myself feel better, or, improve myself, and looking at those and noticing why I did them, like having conversation with a girl at a bar, or lifting weights, or exercising. Like, these things were all very much like, I don't know, I would classify them as more egotistical things. And so I've, certain one, like, especially with working out, I've kind of like haven't fully avoided it, but just took a hard stance for a while where like I almost didn't at all. And it's like, that's not it necessarily either. There's still an experience to be had. There's still like things you do throughout the day, and so I think sometimes, and that's just the pendulum swinging, sometimes getting a sense for, oh yeah, okay, it doesn't mean anything about me, but it doesn't mean that I should avoid it on purpose and like think about whether I'm doing something that is or isn't, instead of just, not thinking about it so much.
Yeah, we don't want to go from one extreme to the other, which is definitely where I would go. I would go from doing something all the time and then seeing that, panicking, and then going like, we can't do this ever again. It would be so extreme.
In fact, it's evil.
Oh my, exactly. We must destroy it. It is out to get us now. You're like, son of a gun. But it's being able to just not give things so much weight, right? It's not that something is the center of my universe and so I do it all the time, every day, nonstop, and it's like, for whatever reason, egotistical or not, if I want to classify it, to then being so terrified of it that now it's the thing that we actively avoid, or not actively avoid, just are afraid to do again, right? And because now we see that it could be something that we depend on, because we see that it could be a crutch, and we remember that we did use it as a crutch, now it's like there's a fear that it's just going to fall back into that. But we're so much more adaptable than that. There's so much more that we can do besides doing something all the time, seeing that as toxic, and then thinking that we need to be so strict about it. It's being able to trust ourselves, honestly. Like I trust myself to be around this person, this activity, this habit, without being afraid that I'm going to become powerless to that habit, even if I felt powerless to it. Like, there's so much more, like the fact that I'm like, there is space in my life that I am recognizing those toxic habits, and that space is being filled with more trust than fear. And not that the fear is not there, it's absolutely there. It's just not so like all consuming, engulfing. It's not so terrifying. Like, the fear is there and it's just taking up space, but there's more space. There's more than just the fear and the space that it takes up.
Nice. Well said. It's interesting because when you talk to people, people are really educational, like whether they realize it or not. Because if you talk to somebody and you find yourself just repulsed by what they're doing, there's so much you can learn there. There's so much you can learn there, because you can go, right, but I've made people feel like that, and immediately you're going to feel your brain, no. Look for it,
Not me.
and that's it. It may not be in this way, but you've definitely contributed to somebody's world in a way that's similar somewhere along the lines. Maybe you weren't, being overbearing at the barbecue because you were drunk, but maybe, in school, you were just not listening to your friends saying they didn't want to do something as you planned their afternoon, things like that. Like, there's all kinds of ways that you can reflect and see similarities. It's just that we want to look for the exact same thing. It's like, well, I've never been so belligerently drunk that I called someone a cow. It's like, no, but you've been drunk enough on ego that you judge somebody as less than you. There's similarities there, and it's being willing to look at them, because when you look at them, not with judgment, but the recognition that we're all going through the same shit, suddenly it's just harder to judge people. It's harder to look at them and go, oh God, I would never. Yeah, you would. And if you can recognize that, suddenly you're no longer really part of the fucking problem, are you? Because it's that mentality that you'd never do that keeps people feeling separated from everyone else. So many people judge themselves as not being good enough because there are so many people willing to judge them as being like less. It's a world that feeds itself, you know. And it's just so important. Like, if you're good with yourself, if you really are, you'll have no problem talking to a person who's not. You know, but if you're basking in the positive energy, you can't stand to be around somebody who's not positive. And that's how you know it's fake. See, that's how you know it's paper thin, because it's easily shattered. So spend that time with people. See yourself. Be willing to be humble. Be willing to feel like a little bit of a bag of shit from time to time, because that's what they're going through. And do you really give a fuck about them? Do you care enough about them to share their plight? Do you care enough about yourself to share their plight? And because we all learn from it, and we all fucking grow and connect when we're willing to do that. It makes all the difference in the world if you're just willing to feel, to question what you think you are, to question what you want to think you are, and then to let all the feelings that go with that come in. Experience them and look at the person you're talking to with fresh eyes and see them possibly for the very first time.
And realizing, you know, that everyone's going through stuff, because if you're going through something or feeling certain things, showing up to a certain situation, assuming certain things or judging yourself or whatever, and there can be this spot where you almost by default assume that no one else feels that. You know, if you are focused on yourself, if you are looking solely at yourself, but as soon as that isn't the case, as soon as it's like, well, maybe everyone feels these types of things, maybe everyone goes through this sort of stuff. Oh, I'm feeling, you know, certain way right now, discomforts, whatever. Maybe everyone else is feeling the same thing. Maybe they're not, but also maybe they are. And I don't really know what's going on in their situation, but assuming that like, oh, they're definitely not, is going to send you spinning down and make it way tougher to realize. Or, you know, on the flip side, when someone's like feeling really good about themselves, assuming anyone who's not is just, oh, they just haven't figured it out yet, they got to do it, whatever. And it's like, that's going to disconnect you as well. So either way, it's like disconnecting you from situations and, you know, circling things back into yourself, which is just going to be, yeah, and it's like, it can be paralyzing. It can be, you know, make you think that all of your assumptions are correct all the time, you know, and the more you focus on them, the more real they tend to seem. But as soon as there's that spot where it's like, yeah, maybe everyone's going through variations of whatever this is, translating it in whatever way they are in their situation. Maybe that's always the case. Then it at least lightens a bit of the guarantee of whatever you're feeling, like just a bit, to like, you know, if you're looking down, to look up for a sec and maybe see that person, look them in the eyes, you know, and realize that you're not, as much as you're going through your stuff in the way that you are, like you're not alone in whatever way that you're feeling those things, and then translating it based on, you know, the assumptions you've made about yourself or the story that you've been experiencing or the experience you've been having. But as soon as you look up, it's like it changes things enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because you can see more when you zoom out. And that sounds so infuriatingly simple. You're like, son of a gun. Of course I can see more if I zoom out. Like, Jesus Christ, Amanda. No. So, you know, I used to love like affirmations and shit. And my affirmations tended to be a little rougher than the ones that you see on like the positive affirmation websites. And it basically would be like, snap the fuck out of it already. But now my favorite affirmation is, I just don't know. Like, no matter what I'm thinking, no matter if I like the answer, agree with the answer, it's a new answer, old answer, came from direct experience, came from someone that I'm talking to, like, regardless of what I think is happening, I just don't know. And in that, there's so much potential, and I don't know. And that used to be something that I would be terrified of because I thought that I needed to know, I had to know. And it's been a delightful surprise, like to, in many ways, that not knowing is rich in potential. Not knowing has a depth, has a bottomless depth that I can explore to my heart's content. But I can only explore it if I'm not specifically trying to explore using a map of a very zoomed in perspective and then wondering why I feel so lost. So it's incredible how much I don't know is not as scary as I thought it would be. It's just I don't know, and in that I get to find out. I get to find out, and oh man, like that can go anywhere in any direction at any time. Like I don't know, man. It's so rich. I'm so curious about what I don't know could mean in every single moment because it's always changing. And what I don't know about myself is also I don't know about a situation. I don't know about someone else. I don't know about where this could lead to. I don't know how this is being interpreted. Like so, it's like fuck it. I don't know, but I'm going to make the most of where I'm at right now because that's right here, and it all just, it's always just right here just doesn't seem like, I feel more grounded. Like I don't want to leave this here as much as I used to with my planning and my predictions and wanting to figure things out and wanting to control things. It's like I always wanted to get there. And it's, right here has so much that I always wanted to in the theirs. And even when I would get to that place, it was never as satisfying as I wanted to be. And so being right here is just a lot more surprising.
Yeah. It's getting trippy. And that's the thing. Right? Hello, listener. I just want to say, because we're talking to you. I mean, it's really important to recognize that as much as we're talking to ourselves, we're talking to you because they're the same thing. And this is something that often happens in our groups is that people will go, I feel like you're all just talking to me about my life. Yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because of that similarity that we're talking about. It's because when you really get down to the crux of your experience, we are very, very similar. We are really going through this together in so many ways. And so it's so important that you just be yourself, because when you are being yourself and you're living authentically, you're allowing people the space to do the same. It's because when you're not living authentically, that's when you judge people. See, that's when you're crowding them. When you're not being yourself, you're judging yourself. And so you have to judge them. They go hand in hand. And so if you really want people to be able to be themselves, you have to give them the space, which means you have to stop pulling on them. You need to stop pushing them. You need to stop needing anything from them. And that's it. Then all of a sudden they have that space. But this is why it's so important for you to just be you. Just be you, jump into the unknown, stop thinking about it. And I understand there's no certainty in that. There's no sense of control. But what will happen? Where will it go? What will happen in my life? You don't know, but you've never known. You've never known, but it's your effort to know. It's your need to know that's causing your conflict and limiting your options and making you feel like you can't just be yourself. You don't have to know. You can actually just be yourself. Seems simple, doesn't it? It's that. And it's exactly that terrifies us. It's like, what if it's not enough? For who? For the people that I want to like me. How do you know those are the people that should like you? How do you know that those are really the people you want to like you? Think about that. It's like, well, I don't want to do this because this person might judge me and not be my friend. That sounds like a shitty fucking friend. You sure you want that kind of friend? Ask yourself that. Perhaps being yourself is actually just weeding out the riffraff. Perhaps having the audacity to just be authentic is what's letting people who are inauthentic know to fuck off. Or at the very least, try to be a little bit more authentic in your presence, because you're not throwing up any shit, so they have the space to do so. It has a power all its own. Being yourself has a power all its own, and it will transform your life. It's been trying to this whole time. Just let go. And you really can. And see, this is where people would be like, and Jesus will catch you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell you, and the universe will take care of you. Everything's going to be all right, blah, blah, blah. Because that all comes down to you thinking you know what the fuck all right means. Maybe it won't. Maybe, in fact, everything that you're afraid of will happen if you just let go. And maybe that'll be the best thing that ever happened to you.
And you won't know that until you do. You won't know that, period. And there's no way to know, even if you do keep, holding on to certain things or certain perceptions or certain ways of living or acting or trying to live up to some bar, some standard, some self-imposed limitations to, your own experience. Like, you're not going to even know one way or the other how things are going to end up, because that's where midlife crises come from. Someone like plays by the book for the most part. It's like, I don't know, maybe a new phenomenon. Not that long ago, people weren't, midlife was maybe 15. So oh gosh, so maybe there was less, but you never know. They might have had similar things if they were following the crowd versus expanding out and doing their own thing. And I guess there's always been variations of that as we go, but that sense of fitting in or doing the right thing or acting in the right way, it's like there's a trade of being able to genuinely be yourself and express yourself and authentically just let go of whatever things that you think you can and can't do. And it's like, at least there's the opportunity for potential. When you're uncertain, there's more opportunity for potential, because there can be this sense of like potential being a specific thing, like accomplishing certain things or achieving certain things that mean something, about you, mean something about me. And that's potential. It's like accomplishing a bunch of stuff, but it's like, how is that informing your experience? Like, what does that potential look like if you stop thinking about all those things that you've done or experienced or accomplished? What if you couldn't for a second think about any experience that you do or, thing you accomplish or thing you achieve in the future or in the past? Then where you left with? You're left with the experience that you're having. You're left with the spot that you're in always, and nothing's going to necessarily guarantee that that's going to be better or worse based on how you do at something, based on what you accomplish or achieve or do throughout your life. There's never going to be that guarantee or that certainty that it's going to help you do anything. And it's like the thought that you need help right there. It's like assuming that something else is going to do it for you, instead of taking opportunities that you have, moment to moment, and making the most of those and seeing what the potential is that's expressed right now, instead of it being something you're constantly striving for, constantly trying to get to that point where you've achieved your potential, or at least gotten as close as you can to that person you meet after you die. That's, your ultimate potential. It's, you can chase that your whole life, or you can express what you got right now and keep doing that and seeing where it takes you.
Mm-hmm. I like that when you brought up like the quarter life crisis and the midlife crisis, because it feels like another classification be like just the moment to moment crisis, man. People are having meltdowns at all ages, man. I swear. I'm meeting people and I'm like, they're like, I've been having a rough time. I'm like, all right, how old are you? They're like 12. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Like it's just, that's purely the joke, but it's just, I do see that happening in at every single age. You know, when I am talking to my younger nieces and nephews and the children of friends, and they're of all ages, and just seeing just the weight that you can put on yourself at every age and in every moment. And yes, we love to classify really big ones, but I think we only really like to classify really big ones because we want to say that, oh, it would only really happen then. We don't want to admit that it can happen every day, in every moment, because it is how it is already happening. And we don't want to admit that we are going through this like horrendous experience on a moment to moment basis. It's like, oh, no, no, no. I'm not clinically depressed. No, I'm just privately depressed. That's different. You know, and some people, you know, we sometimes we like the classification too, like we want the diagnosis, and sometimes we don't want it. And, you know, but it's at the same time, it's just, it doesn't need to be classified. It's just, it can happen in any moment because every moment is potential, right? So you can go to one extreme or the other. We can be on a high, on cloud nine, and we can be in the depths of a personal hell. But that happens at any moment, at any age. And it's just paying attention. What's happening? What are you doing? What are you holding on to? And not to always be on alert, like you're some fucking personal hall monitor, always on alert, trying to give yourself citations for either fucking up or doing well. But it's just paying attention to what's happening and just seeing, okay, am I clenched? Am I tight? Does this moment feel heavy? You know, does it feel like it's dragging ass? And being honest with yourself without needing it to be, you know, you don't have to come up with a solution, but just being able just to take it in, you know, and that's what it feels like more and more in each moment. Just, oh man, oh my goodness. I was having a moment the other day where I was like freaking out, and I just was like, I can just breathe. You know what? I'm just going to breathe. I'm just going to breathe right now. And even that was just so deliciously simple because I was just focusing on my breath. I was like, I was like, okay, we breathed. Yeah, we did it. You know, like just being content with just that. Like, okay, all right. All right, what's next? Okay, what's going on again? Okay, I was freaking out. I just breathed. I simplified my moment down to a breath. And now let's build off of that breath. What else is happening? Now that we've got a little bit of space to see, we've zoomed out a little bit with that breath. Now that there's a little bit more, let's take in a little bit more. And then just not rushing to fill up the space once you've taken that breath and given yourself some.
Yeah, that's really it. I've said it before. I'm going through stuff. It starts to feel heavy. I'll just exhale. Again, I'll just see all of my weight just going right, back to the moment. And you just kind of let it go. But there's like a deflating in that. I don't think we recognize how much self-importance goes with bitching about shit. Like, there really is a sense of, yeah, me, when you're bitching about shit. And it's addictive. That's why when you have that insight, like, fuck, I'm taking myself seriously. It feels so deflating. You're just like, I could have let that go at any point. You feel a bit like an ass. You know, and that's kind of the trick, is just to not feel like an ass. There's no reason for you to feel like an ass.
Mm-mm.
You had a moment where you're like, oh, I'm making that hard.
Right.
Don't make it hard again. Don't go, I'm making that hard. What an asshole I am. That's just making it hard again. You know, but deflate. Have the courage to not be so fucking important for a second. That's really it. You know, just to go, maybe what I think's not so fucking important.
It's not about me.
It's not about me. But I was really hoping there'd be more me.
Me
You
too.
know?
Me too. I second that.
We're gonna have a committee for me. You know, all of us in favor of me.
Instead of saying I, say me.
Say me. That's right.
Commit me.
Oh my God. But that's really it. Like, it's just going, well, what happens if I don't put myself first in this situation? Not don't be in this situation, but not think to yourself, well, I want to feel better about this. What if you just didn't do that?
Right.
What if you thought to yourself, it doesn't really matter how I feel about this. It's going to be gone shortly, so I'll just pay attention to it. What would happen? And that's the question. What would happen? Don't answer that question. Go find out. Go find out. Next time something's coming up and somebody's like fucking laying into you and they're having a bad day and blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking, why the fuck do I have to deal with this person? Why am I listening to this shit and all that? Just ask yourself, why not? Shut the fuck up and see what happens. And what you'll notice is that the person that you were just talking to is suddenly going to say something that's going to inspire you to say something else that you weren't going to say while you were bitching about it. And the whole conversation changes. Goes in a direction you didn't see because you had the gall to just let go of your opinion of it. It doesn't really matter what you think of where you are. It matters what you do with where you are. Like, oh, I hate going to work. Quit. Well, I don't want to quit. I got to pay my bills. And shut the fuck up. I get that sounds harsh. I get it. I could be really nice about it and go, well, yeah, but you do like the time it affords you, so you can buy your groceries and pay your bills and still go out with your friends sometimes, blah, blah, blah. You could live in a smaller place. You could get a roommate and downsize your expenses. I could do all of that. But all that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst part. All that. All I'm doing now is I'm just helping you walk through the process like a fucking toddler. Where at the end of the day, it really just comes down to the fact that you chose to be there. You chose to be where you are. It doesn't matter where that is. You're an adult. I'm not talking to children. I'm talking to adults. If you don't like where you are, leave. If you're like, well, I have reasons not to leave, that's your problem. Think about that. That means that there are reasons that you chose to stay. There are reasons you chose to stay, not reasons you can't leave, reasons you want to stay. And you just don't want to look at it that way. So you'd rather say, no, these are reasons I can't leave. No, you can leave. You have every ability to get up off your ass, walk out the office, flip your boss the bird, and never come back. Mm-hmm. You can do that right now. But uncertainty, the unknown, it's all on you. What are you going to do? Where's it going to go? What does it mean about your life? Blah, blah, blah. You can answer those questions. You're just going to fucking go. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying get up, flip your boss off and leave your job. I'm saying just be where you are. Because no matter what you do right now, if you leave, you quit your job and you go somewhere else, you're still going to be there with the same ability to bitch about it. The same ability to look at it and go, why isn't this something else? And that's what's ruling your life. When you can actually just make the most of where you are by just letting that go and seeing what happens.
Yeah, the grass is greener where you water it, right? Because you go through lots of different experiences and assume, and there's always the opportunity, no matter what, to assume that something should or shouldn't be different. And there's been lots of situations and lots of other situations throughout your life that you've assumed certain things, or in situations that you have even fond memories of, like there was a big part of that you weren't enjoying also. So anything that you think of alternatively, there's still going to be the same potential, for all of the things that you're feeling in whatever situation you're in right now, whatever the current situation is, it's still you. Like you can't escape yourself, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. You can't get away from that. Like you are your experience. And so you are every experience that you get into and do and face and handle. And, oftentimes you're in certain situations and like the more uncertain they seem, the more maybe discomforts are arising, I think is indicative of the potential, of the change, of the shift, of the growth. Like growth and discomfort go hand in hand. They really do. And I think that's something that can be very quickly forgotten, because you can talk about discomfort and feeling certain things or, having certain experiences. But, when you're in it, you can forget that that's where the growth is happening. Like that's where the changes, the shifts, the, new fucking whatever is going on in your brain all the time with the neurons getting cut and refiring and getting linked again. It's like, those aren't comfortable experiences. They don't necessarily feel great all the time, but it's things shifting. It's things changing. Like, if you have a clay fucking Play-Doh figurine that you made, and then you smash it down and make a different one. It's like when it gets smashed down, it's not gonna necessarily feel really good to it, but that's how you make something else. That's how you open up doors to new experiences in different situations, and have the potential to explore what you're made of in different ways in those spots where it does, there are draws to certain things. Do feel more certain about things, or are trying to grasp for some sense of certainty. It's like you're never going to escape that uncertainty. There's nothing that is ever going to be the guarantee or sure or certain. And so trying to find that, trying to find a situation that is more certain, maybe it can feel like that for a bit, but there's a lot less potential in that, potential to explore and express, the fullness of whatever you could be if you were, willing to just continue on, see what's on the other side.
I was chatting with a cab driver the other day, and I'm chatting with him about his life and how long he's lived in the city that we were driving through, and talking about change, and he just immediately was like, no, I can't do all of that you're doing right now, because I've got a family, I've got to have roots. And I was like, I get that, that's certainly a consideration, but I do have friends who have the family and have the kids, and they travel and they start businesses, and so as much as it would be a different implementation process, it is an option. And he almost looked so annoyed with me that I like burst his limitation bubble. Because not only did I say like, oh no, you could do it. It's like, no, I know people who have your circumstances and they did it. Yeah. And, it's not that because I am, without kids and single, that it is that I get to do the moving across the country or moving out. It's not that I'm the only one that's able to do that. It's everybody has everything. And what I ended up telling him was that I gave him this analogy. I was like, you go to a restaurant, right? You order one thing off the menu. Does the rest of the menu disintegrate after you pick the one option? Are you never able to order anything else off of that menu once you've picked the one thing? No, of course not. You can pick another option another time. You can change the option that you're in this time. But it's so easy for us to say, oh no, I can't do that because I'm not that kind of person. Oh no, I can't do that because I have extenuating circumstances. Oh no, I can't do that because, I'm just not allowed. And it's like we want to be trapped here, limited and trapped here, because at least if I feel small, that's the excuse for why I'm not doing something else. If I'm limited, that's the reason why I'm not exploring that potential. And you're not trapped here in the same way that you're not even trapped in that thought. But it's so easy. You want to be. I wanted to be. And it's just not as comforting as I thought. Let me rephrase that. It's not as comforting as I wanted it to be. My limitations are not as comforting as I wanted them to be, because I lived with them. I still have them. I still live within some of them. And as much as I want to tell myself that it's comfortable, it's just familiar is what it really boils down to. And I want to equate things that are familiar with things that are safe, things that are familiar with things that are controllable, things that are familiar with things that are certain. And that's just not the case. And so it's so funny that, I'll have a different example and someone's like, you're not who I thought you were. It's like, I'm not even what you don't think I am. I don't even know what the hell I am. I'm just figuring this out. This is always an ongoing process of getting to know the moment and me within the moment. And sometimes it feels like those things are synonymous. As I'm getting to know myself, I'm getting to know the moment I'm in. As I'm getting to know the moment, I'm getting to know myself. And that's what it's starting to feel more like in this day to day, or in this moment to moment.
I was like, you're not who I thought you were. Let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah, that's right.
Stop doing that shit, And newsflash, neither are you. You're not the person you think you are either.
No.
But that's it. Like, if I want to think I know myself, I know who I am, then I need to think I know you.
Yeah.
I need to think it's that simple. I need to think that it's just
Yeah.
that superficial. And it's just because if it's not, oh my God. Like if it's not superficial and conceptual, if it's not just surface, like if you being handsome or attractive doesn't indicate that you're a good person, fuck. You know, maybe if you have money, that's got to indicate it, right?
Power,
But that's
power.
right. And like,
That's it.
Any of these things indicate good person,
Status.
right? But that's what we want. We want it to be that simple because if it's not, heaven fucking help us. You know, that means we got to feel this shit out moment to moment as we're going through it. You know,
Say this himself. Say this himself.
Fuck, man. You know, and that's what it is. Like, we don't realize it, but we're like, please just fucking simplify this. There's a God and he has things he wants me to do so I can be happy.
If we get a big enough funnel, do you think we can shove the whole moment in it?
Oh my
Just
God.
That's how it goes.
But just remember that, like, life isn't superficial. It's not conceptual. It's not, you know, this surface thing you want to look at it. Things are neither good nor bad. Things just are. And then we describe them according to our preferences.
Yeah.
But things just are. And what they are is endlessly complex while at the same time being super simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that we want to simplify it in a way that makes it about me. We want to simplify it so that way it serves me. And that's what fucks us, is that need for it to just revolve around me just for a little bit. And we want our whole life to be that. And if it's not that, then it becomes about life. And that changes everything we experience. Everything. So that said, though, we are coming close to the end of this episode. And I just wanted to say that we started late today. Late, of course, is arbitrary because we can start whenever the fuck we want. But we started 3.5 hours later than usual today because we were out last night till like 3 a.m. doing the birthday thing, karaoke things, startling old men on stages everywhere. It was great.
Making dreams come true, sir. That's what was happening.
Yeah.
You get it right. You get it
Making
right.
people's fucking nights.
Exactly.
I don't know what you were looking at.
Exactly.
Dude, gave me a smile and a wink.
That's right.
Couldn't see it from anywhere else.
You know, he really wasn't like he was just enthralled.
He was having the best
It was
time.
great.
It was great.
But we are going to continue on Patreon after this with our normal tier 2 call. If you would like to join us, the details are on Patreon right now. You can check that out. We are also redesigning our schedule for our live streams and our groups. There are a number of polls that are on Patreon at the moment. If you would like to fill them out for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and let us know what times work for you for our Zoom groups, we would like to be able to make ourselves a little bit more available according to your availability. So definitely check those out. Fill them in the next week or so, and we're going to be releasing that schedule real soon. Last announcement, Colorado's coming up. Fuck, it's like a week away, a little bit over a week. This is going to be amazing. If you would like to join us, we still have tickets available. Take us up on it now. This is our last event for 2024. Everything else is going to be prohibitively more expensive because it's going to be a 9-day retreat, which means we have a chef and yoga and in-house live music. There's a bunch of stuff at the other event. This event, a lot of weed, a lot of laughs, some funny fucking movies. We're going to have popcorn. It's one of the few retreats that we actually watch movies at because we have a movie theater in the basement. It's just going to be a bunch of fun. And if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I should go, just come join us, you know. And if you're asking yourself, well, you know, I don't know if I can pay the whole ticket in one shot, reach out to us on Patreon. Let us know. We're happy to do a payment plan with you. We already had somebody who split their payment into 2. We don't have a problem doing that whatsoever. If you can come out and join us, however we can help, we would love to see you. But Denver, Colorado, May 30th to June 3rd, we are going to be chilling, smoking fuck tons of weed, and just having a great time. We'd love to see you. And given again that this is our last 2024 mini retreat, it's going to be a bit of a celebration. So be there if you can. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to close this out in about a minute. I'll pass it to Andrew and Amanda to shut us down.
All right. It's been a lot of fun. Inaugural in-person episode. We did one at Big Bear with Jackie included as well, but it's almost the full deal. So this was It was a fucking blast. And if you are thinking about Colorado, Denver, I think it's 11 days at this point.
Yep.
It's a fun fucking spot. And even if you don't want to watch a movie in the movie chairs, they're super comfy to just chill out and hang in and have some fun chats.
Trip.
So, yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely. I'm so glad I could join you guys. I love you, everybody. Have a wonderful Sunday. Hope to see you at Patreon calls and at the Colorado retreat. It's dope. Come on.
Super fun.
Have a great